so much of the NBA is star driven, and the narrative around teams and the amount of attention teams get is based on that. And I don't know, because I think Jimmy should absolutely get more attention than he does. And I've talked about this a little bit, but to me, Jimmy is a really smart and intelligent player. And so in the regular season, night to night, he recognizes what his team needs out of him. And sometimes that's defense, sometimes that's being a facilitator, sometimes that's scoring the basketball. But some of it is he puts up great stats, and his advanced stats are great, but some of it is he doesn't put up these insane numbers. And so we I don't want to say ignore him, but we kind of just sleep on him and don't give him, I think, his due flowers during the regular season. And then we get to the playoffs and we're like, oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah. Jimmy Butler's fucking awesome. I forgot. Because this isn't the first time that he's had a stretch like this in the playoffs. Did Jimmy make you go to the gym with him at 4 a.m. ever?
5 a.m. was the earliest. We woke up at 5 and we went to the beach. We're throwing medicine balls around on the beach. I'm like 5 in the morning.
I actually think I remember that post that he put up of you guys. You guys were like on like a sand volleyball court or something like that.
Yeah.
How important was him for you this year? Because it seemed like he took you under his wing from the jump, from the get-go. Yeah. Like he reached out to you and kind of took you under his wing.
Yeah. Well, how it went down, I actually reached out to him when we signed him or traded for him, and then I just hit him up and just told him I'm willing to work with him whenever I want to get some work in and get better. And he was like, "Yeah, come down to Chicago and we'll work." So I came down there, and that's when we woke up at 5 and we're on the beach throwing medicine balls around. But I leaned on him so much my rookie year. Just being able to lean on someone like him who's seen everything, who's been through it all. And then we built such a great relationship. And for being a young guy, for me, it was just in the playoffs, I was, just trying to play for him. And I know he's always been that guy that people talk about as a bad teammate and stuff. But that's like the complete opposite of who he actually is. So just being able to play with him my rookie year was a blessing.
I think after this year, Jimmy Butler has been redeemed as a teammate.
Right.
He's been redeemed. He is a good teammate. Can you describe, because I played with him obviously in Philly, but can you describe him as a teammate and what he's like just being around him on a daily basis?
As a teammate, he's going to come into the gym and he's going to joke, smile, laugh, do it. He's just a great guy. He's that guy that you would want to lead your team. He's a leader. People will follow him. He always leads in the right direction. He's a worker and he wants to win. So that's why the Heat and Jimmy get along so well, just because they want to win and he wants to win, and we put a really good team together.
I feel like we got to see the real Jimmy this year. Like when we talked about this back in March with him.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I got to know the real Jimmy as a teammate. I got to know the real Jimmy as a person off the court, but as a teammate, I didn't get to see the real Jimmy because he was so unhappy. He wasn't happy. You could see it on his face. And that was kind of disappointing for me then to go see him go to Miami
and make it work
and blossom. It was a little frustrating for me.
Yeah, I bet. Like you could have did this in Philly.
Yeah, come on, man. Come on. It wasn't. I guess it wasn't the right mix of guys, but I obviously I've talked with him a bunch after the season. I love that dude. I'm always pulling for him.
Yeah, for sure.
We always knew the talent, right? And we both saw it up close by playing with him. We saw the unselfishness. We saw the hard hat he brought every single day. We saw the leadership in his way, right? It's not for everybody, but it was his way, and we embraced that. And Jimmy, if he's rolling with you, he'll roll with you all the way. And so for him to take that team and lead that team to the finals, I was so fucking happy for him. Like, because people on the outside don't really know him. They just know whatever they think they see or whatever it might be. And Jimmy kind of plays into that. He kind of wants them not to know him because he's a loyal dude. He's one of the best teammates I've ever had. He's a great leader. He'll do everything. What's interesting about him is out of all the like superstars, he's one of the ones who is like really like self-made. He wasn't the one who was a prodigy coming up from middle school to high school to, college and so on and so forth. He kind of made his way. And so he kind of has that mentality. I'll guard that guy. You be the scorer tonight. He kind of has that, right? And so for him to lead them there I loved it. I love watching every game.
Jimmy has this like weird reputation that not everyone's on board, but he's clearly an incredible fighter, teammate, winner. They were like, no, that's our guy, and they built with him. And that's a sign of a great culture, is when you can identify exactly who fits you instead of like, I think he's a fit, right? Like, though they know clearly he's a fit, he's not. This is what we do. This is our system of behaviors.
Are you a coffee drinker?
No.
You've never tried Jimmy's coffee?
I've never tried Jimmy's coffee. Jimmy told me I could invest in the company if I put what did he tell me? My 15 mil.
Jimmy's such a dick.
There you go. There it is.
What was your first interaction with him like when he came?
My first interaction. Damn, what was my first interaction with Jimmy? It was kind of like, "What's up, dog?" Like it wasn't nothing too major, but it was the social media that like was making Jimmy out to be like cancer, his bad teammate. That's when he was leaving. You heard the Minnesota situation and this, that, and the third. And it's crazy because I almost got traded for Jimmy.
To Minnesota.
Before
the Philly thing.
Yeah.
Jimmy always wanted to be on the Heat. Let's be very clear about that. Jimmy always wanted to be on the Heat.
He did. But I almost got traded for Jimmy, and Pat wouldn't trade me. Like, he was like, "Nah, I see something good in this kid, yada, yada, yada." And at that point, I'm sweating bullets. Like, I'm not trying to get traded. I like it in Miami. It's warm. I kind of got my feet. I kind of got my feet wet. I'm familiar with the place. But first interaction, it was just same thing with D-Wade. Like, what do you want me to call you? Jimmy? Like, how you want me to go about this? Mr. Butler? Like, just figuring out. And that was pretty much it. And then I figured out he plays phase 10. And I was like, bet. We can play phase 10. And that's kind of how, like, I got familiar with it.
I don't know if you feel this way, and we were just talking about Jimmy, but in some ways, because of how things end in Chicago and Minnesota, Philly, whatever, I felt like that bubble run, I don't know if the word is validated or vindicated, but in some ways it validated Jimmy the basketball player, Jimmy the person. And as an extension of that, of course, it further validated Heat culture. You think that's accurate?
I think that's accurate. Because off the court, you got to see Jimmy's like charisma. You got to see like who he was as like a person. There was no going home in the bubble. It was we're all going our room and we're all on the same floor anyway. So like, don't nobody want to go crazy in our room. So like, yeah, like we're gonna go to the lounge and hang out, play cards, and have crazy ass ideas like him making big face coffee. Like the man was selling coffee out of his hotel room and calling it Big Face Coffee, and now it's an actual brand. Like, that's what the bubble did. But it also definitely validated him as a player because I got hurt, Goran got hurt, and he has the 40-point triple-double in the finals. Like, some crazy shit a lot of people have never seen a lot of times. And especially, being him and hearing all the backlash he was getting through the Chicago, Minnesota, and Philly situations. It just, we kind of embraced who Jimmy was. Like, we knew Jimmy was an asshole at the end of the day. We all know that. But like, this culture embraces that. Like, we want you to bring that assholeness out. So then on the court, we got all 5 people that are like dogs. Like we want all 5 of y'all to be assholes. Because at that point, y'all not going to take no shit, and we not backing down from anybody. And that was kind of like his way of expressing himself in the finals. Like, I don't care if we're down two of our main guys. Like, I'm not backing down for y'all. And for him to put on those type of performances, I was like, damn, like, that was one of those games where, you would watch, guys like Kobe having the finals, MJ, LeBron. And then, for Jimmy to have that moment where, like, he can have his name stitched in history in the finals, it's just like, it just showed everybody, like, he's not a person that's going to back down.
Jimmy's having a fantastic season. Was actually a little surprised that he didn't make the All-Star game, to be honest with you. Counting stats good, over 22 a game, over 5 assists, over 5 rebounds. He's got a career-high 63.9 true shooting percentage. He's second in the NBA in win shares per 48. That's probably an even better barometer than total win shares. He's doing it on both ends. Here's my argument for Jimmy. The Miami Heat, and we touched on this a couple weeks ago, the Miami Heat have largely underperformed this season because they can't shoot threes. Think about that. That is the I really believe that. That is the reason.
It's the only reason.
They haven't gotten production, efficient production out of Lowry, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, Duncan. Like, there's 3 guys that have had good seasons for the Miami Heat. Outside of them, there's no one that has shot the ball well. The shooters have not shot the ball well. I can't, and Jimmy, by the way, has created a lot of these open looks for them. So you could argue, well, he's averaging 5.1 assists. He's probably, in a normal shooting year, averaging 6.5 assists.
Yep.
And all these little metrics get amped up for Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's had a great season.
Yep.
And he's had his most efficient shooting season. So career high in 2-point percentage, 35.6. He barely shoots threes, but 35.6 from 3 after shooting in the 20s the last 2 years for Miami. Jimmy Butler, to me, should have one of the 6 forward spots for the All-NBA.